So a little while ago, I put out a short video asking folks on YouTube and Patreon what I should do with regards to the Nemesis Prime stuff, because I have that monthly theme thing that I do, but also I've just kind of run out of stuff to cover currently. And so it's like, do I go ahead and do the monthly stuff now? Do I wait? And I love y'all, but you did not help in the slightest. The number of people who responded to a choice A or choice B question with, you should put up a poll, is a lot. Like I said, I love y'all, but sometimes you really annoy me. But so what I decided to do, since the results were inconclusive, thank you everybody for that, is I'm just going to wing it. If I feel like talking about a given figure that's a Nemesis Prime outside of September, I'm going to do it. If there's something that I want to save for September, I'm going to do that. So that's how I'm approaching it, which is why now we're looking at this. And this is, well, it's what I talked about doing however many months ago it was when I first made a video on Studio Series Dark of the Moon. I think this is the Dark of the Moon design, Optimus Prime. It is an excellent mold, excellent figure, but it's an Optimus Prime and not a Nemesis Prime, so I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'll wait on a Nemesis or whatever. And then they announced a Nemesis Prime, so I sold my original Studio Series Dark of the Moon Prime, obviously with the expectation of getting the Nemesis Prime. And when they showed like actual product shots, not just the renders of that figure, I didn't like it. And it's petty, I suppose, but I just didn't like it because they made the grays darker, which worked for a Nemesis Prime, but they made the blues lighter, like so much lighter. And I feel like they should have stuck with the darker blues from this figure and just made the grays darker, and that would have been perfect. But apparently they couldn't do that. They had to ruin it by making the blues way too light. So didn't end up getting the Nemesis Prime. Instead, I got myself another Optimus Prime and did some customizing, and that is what we're looking at today. This is my custom. As I said in the original video, I made my own Nemesis. I finally did it. And as I'm pretty sure, said in the original video, it really wasn't a hard process. So all of this it's a very simple thing. 2 colors. I used black, bit of red. These are all acrylic. I'm no longer using enamel paints because apparently that can damage the plastic, and I just didn't want to worry about that. And also, it's such a pain to clean up. You have to use toxic chemicals to clean everything, and it's just like, no. So this is all done in acrylics. And for the black, all I did was put some paint in a little like cup, basically, like a paper cup, because I'm not going to be drinking out of it after putting paint in it, but a paper cup, bunch of water, some black paint, mix it all up, so it just made a wash. And then I just picked a mode and just got really sloppy with black paint wash all over, and then transformed it and did it again. And that's kind of the extent of most of the work I did on this custom. And it is messy, it is sloppy, it is weirdly congealed in certain areas that look a little off, but I don't mind it. This is an amateur thing. I'm sure there are things I could have done to make this look better, but at a glance, I really like how this both adds a little bit of interest to the blue and adds much more definition to the gray. It also makes the gray look darker than it originally was. And I've got the weapons back here because I did actually do the weapons too. It's hard to tell because I did like all the different parts and stuff, but if I can figure out a spot where I can show what the gray originally looked like, I will point that out so you can kind of see just how much darker this wash ended up making the gray, in addition to just making the truck look dirty, which I actually think is pretty cool. I think it works for a Nemesis. It's a Nemesis Prime, so yeah, he's going to be dirty and grimy. I think it works. As I said, it's amateurish, it's a little bit splotchy in places, but for a first attempt at a black wash using acrylics, I'm content with how this all turned out, and that's kind of all I can really say about this. It's the same truck, it looks the part, it's relatively clean for what it is, and the transformation on this figure is absolutely brilliant. But before we get to that, just a quick reminder of how big this thing is. There he is with a standard modern deluxe stand-in OVA Prime. And that's kind of it. So, I'm going to transform this guy. I'm going to go through it, but it is going to be quicker than usual because I already covered it once. But I'll try to remember to link to the original video either up here or down in the description, or both. But yeah, it's the same exact transformation. Doing the custom paint on it did not change that at all. But first thing is to untab these gray panels on the sides, and they untab from here and this panel here. You can kind of see the tab there. And then shift that forward, rotate this around, do the same on this side. And something I've also noticed after doing the custom, which has actually been nice, the paint wash actually ends up making some of the tabs, like, it just increases the surface of some of these tabs and slots and stuff so that, like, they grip and peg in a lot more solidly than they did originally, which I actually think is really nice. Anyway, untab all this and shift it back, flare these out, untab the center bit here. There we go. And here you can kind of see what the gray originally looked like. I didn't bother with the inside because this is covered up in both modes, but yeah, that's kind of what it looks like before the wash. And find a good angle here. So that's pre-wash, after wash. It's just a little bit darker, which, as I said, I think looks better. So anyway, get all that up and unpeg all of this. And now this will untab. Like I said, very secure now. This untabs. This all swings in and pegs in here. This flips around. This comes back in to completely close all of this off. Then this folds in, folds... Nope, doesn't fold in. This folds out. And this all folds back in and pegs in back here, and then this pegs in here. And open up the foot and heel, give the thigh a rotation towards the front. And then same deal here, open that up, swing that around and peg it in. Make sure to flip this around and then bring this back in. Bring this down, tab that in, and tab all of that into place. That a spin and fold out. Whoops. And fold out the heel and foot. Give that a 180-degree spin. Bring this down, and that'll all sit like that. Untab the little roof thingy. Untab what'll be the arms. And then you kind of want to push in to unhook this from the inside of the door. And then we can untab the wheel wells from the grill section, which, you know, as I mentioned, much tighter with the paint, which I think is a good thing. So there's all that. Now this will kind of double hinge and shift back, which gives this all room to come down, and the wheel wells will tab over these little tabs here, and then hip skirts can come down. Next, fold out the midsection, bring all this down. This will come up and tab into just behind the collar there. And for the arms, you want to untab the shoulder pauldrons, which tab in very securely now that the paint's there. And also the arm untabs from here. And this will all kind of straighten out and rotate around. This rotates to the side. And then for this, you want to bend this whole thing down so that you can clear some of the stuff up here. And then this will fold in and peg in like that. And then this will swing in, and it will eventually tab into the chest, but we're not going to do that just yet because we got to do the other side too. So untab this. Actually got to pull out the spudger for this. There we go. And untab from here. Bring that down. Straighten out the arm. Bring that off to the side. Rotate the arm out. Then bring that down, fold that in, tab that in, and then this will all collapse in here. This comes down and tabs over here, and also tabs into like down here. So this plugs into this kind of tabs into that, and that solidifies the torso. Bring the arms down, and then finally there is the backpack, which is very simple. Just rotate that 180, bring the windows up, fold the hood up, and it'll click into place, fold the grill in, and then as this comes down, the flaps for the doors will come down. Probably could have done this sooner, but these come down, and these will tab into slots on the back here to lock everything together, and then this just sits on the back. And there we go. And as I've said, as we all kind of know at this point, because this figure's been out for a while, extremely good transformation. I love this mold. It is great. The way it works is really cool. It's got some drawbacks, but like for the most part, the transformation is super, super nice. And there is Nemesis Prime. It's just Optimus with the blackwash over everything and a little bit of red, but I think this works super well, and I prefer... That was the other thing about the official Nemesis Prime figure. They did the non-faceplated face or head for that figure, and I don't like the non-faceplate look for a Nemesis Prime. I feel like having a faceplate makes more sense for a Nemesis. I can't explain why. It just makes more sense to me. But yeah, with the blackwash, like, this looks so good. Again, the darker blue really makes it for the Nemesis, and like having the gray now being darker with like more of the colors showing is great. Makes him look dingy and dirty, which again I think works with the idea that he is a Nemesis, and kind of, if we're going by what happens in the movie, it makes sense that he'd be kind of dirty because he's just been, I guess, meandering through the galaxy, getting into tussles, or at least looking for fights. Before we look at the rest of him, just want to take a quick gander at the weapons. And yeah, as I said, I did the blackwash over all of this too. So there's a little bit on the knife thingy, a whole lot on the shield, which also, again, makes the shield look darker and brings out a lot of those details, but also has the added benefit, much like the rest of the figure, where the blackwash in the pegs and ports and whatnot make everything thicker, which makes everything peg in much more securely. Let's put this back on here because I still like the idea of him having a shield that shoots bullets, presumably bullets, and also is a knife. There is the sword with the little sheath thingy, and the sword, again, it's just the sword. I didn't do anything special to it, just the blackwash, but I do think it looks good when you can actually make out the details. And slip that into his hand as it normally goes. And yeah, that's cool. And as a reminder for anyone who maybe either didn't see the other video or hasn't seen it, you can push this in the back to like have the sword store there, but then you get this flap behind his head, which is kind of annoying. So what I end up doing is I just untab this to get the backpack open, and then I just put this in here. Just like that, and then close this up. And it doesn't close all the way, but like the friction is good enough that it's not going to fall out, and that just stores the sheath or whatever you want to call it, and now it's not like pegged into his back getting in the way, making this have to stand up or anything like that. So that's much cleaner. And yeah, there is the fully customized Nemesis Prime, and he is really cool. The tiny, teeny tiny Autobot symbol in the chest probably could use a replacement, but at the same time, I don't know that was removed during the movie. But the real thing that makes this a night movie, Bay versus night aesthetic Optimus Prime into a Nemesis is the head. And again, the black wash, I think, does what it's been doing for all the other gray plastic, but I did that extra step where I took some red and just painted a little red along the face. And this was just a tiny brush, steady hand, and a desk-mounted magnifying glass. But yeah, I was looking at reference photos, and I'm pretty sure this is where the red stripe goes. And like that's kind of it. That's all I really needed to do to turn this into Nemesis Prime. I said that, I think, in the original video, where like really the only thing to do like the Bayverse Nemesis Prime would be to put the red stripe on the side of the head. And yeah, that's it. Now he's a Nemesis Prime. And I think this looks fantastic. And I don't mean that as like, oh, my skills are so good, because they're not. But like, this very easily turns it into a Nemesis Prime, like a convincing Nemesis Prime, and in my opinion, it looks better than the official one. And when I say better than the official, I don't mean that like the official is bad. I just like this, I think, works better as a Nemesis Prime, and that's because of, again, in my opinion at least, that weird choice that they went with to make the grays darker but the blues lighter. I probably would have been content to just go with the official release if they kept the darker blue but added the darker, or switched to the darker gray. But instead, they did what they did, and so I did this. And yeah, for what I wanted out of a Dark of the Moon / Last Night Nemesis Prime, this is great. It didn't require a whole lot of work, effort, or skill on my part. The trickiest thing was just doing the stripe on the side of the head, because that's actually requires some precision. The black wash is just, you know, with with watered down black paint. I think the hardest part really was just waiting for the paint to dry, trying to be patient with it. Yeah, I really like this because, like with the original video, I really wanted a Nemesis Prime version of this figure because it is a fantastic mold, but I didn't like the official one, so I kind of turned the non-Nemesis into a Nemesis, and I think it works so much better. Also, he is a leader class figure, so he is somewhat tall and dense compared to what you could say is the average deluxe. And that's all I got. Maybe I should have made this more special, I don't know, but I just had this guy ready to go for a while. I did this custom, it may have even been in 2025, I don't entirely remember, but he's been ready for a while, and I just never got around to making a video on him. As I said, I think this looks really cool. If you like what you see and you want to do something similar, it is super easy. Just get your hands on the Studio Series Optimus Prime from Dark of the Moon, this mold, whatever, not the Nemesis. And as I said, just get some acrylic paint, black and red, put some of that black paint in a container you're never going to drink out of, and add a bunch of water, swish it around until it's just all kind of mixed together, and then just take a brush and just glob the paint on. Maybe go in like sections or something. Find a good angle for the figure to rest at so that the paint doesn't all pool down at the bottom. Because if it's really watered down, then it will start to pool. But, you know, just take it slow. Slosh a bunch of paint all over it, especially if you want it to look darker and just grittier. As I said, no real skill involved. Just a matter of slopping the paint on, the very watered down black paint, and then using a bit of red to just get that line on the side of the face, and you're done. Yeah, you don't have all the weapons that the Nemesis Prime comes with, but personally I don't care. I don't care that the forearms are slightly different. I just really wanted this mold as Nemesis, and that's how I got it. But that's it. So thank you all for watching. I don't know if the next video is going to be another Nemesis or not. We'll just have to see what happens, but we'll find out together.